Boink, boink.
Is this dessert?
Yeah. Cheers.
I'm gonna cook for my family and for an entire week using only this book. Stick around to see how I totally wreck one of their recipes and then what I do to try to fix it. Yeah, it's very crumbly, eh?
I really like it. It's crispy, chocolatey.
It's good, but like, I feel like I'm gonna have bad breath after this.
Lots of flavor.
Some of the instructions in here are not as specific as I would like. You couldn't tell that I screwed it up, right?
No, you can't tell you screwed it up.
These are the journeys of the home cook.
I like it simple.
Okay, go bye.
That's really good.
Very tasty.
That's delicious.
You don't want any of your wasabi.
Greetings and welcome to or welcome back to PB with Jay. Here on the channel, we focus on all things plant-based goodness. And today, we're going to be showing you how we cooked our way through the Happy Pear's recipes for happiness. You have all been requesting that I do some recipes from the Happy Pear for a long time. This is their third book. Haven't used their first two books. Maybe we'll in the future if enough people would like us to do so. But as many of you likely know, they are also a wildly successful YouTube channel. One of the really cool features of this cookbook too is that they kind of lean into the fact that they're YouTubers, because in the index for each of like the sections, they have a little symbol that indicates whether or not they have a video for this recipe too. So for those of you that are like visual learners, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I've seen that in a cookbook, and I'm likely to steal that myself. So doing a quick look through this book, it seemed like there's a lot of recipes in here that we either have versions of our own recipes or ones that we've done before here on the channel for other cookbooks. So when I picked the recipes in here, I tried to pick ones that were things that were maybe a little less typical for things we've done before, or new spins on things we've done before. So keep that in mind with the selection of recipes that we pick. I always just try to pick things that I think my family is gonna genuinely like, or things that I'm genuinely curious in. For example, here we have a gluten-free bread, which I know is something that Woolie's gonna be into. She'll probably actually make that recipe herself. And as always, even though they're very, very health conscious, and Woolie thought she read in here somewhere that they mentioned they're whole food plant-based, they do use oil and white flour and whatnot throughout in some spaces. So you're gonna see me doing some very mild swaps for things like that, because this is a whole food plant-based channel. And if you have a problem with me doing that kind of thing, maybe don't watch this video. That's how we work around here. Stick around to the end of this video where I will tell you my overall thoughts on this book and whether I think you should buy it, borrow it, or bypass it altogether. For the ranking of the recipes, we use this tier system that is popular on the internet. S means we absolutely love this and we can't wait to have it again. A means this is super solid and I could see us putting this into the regular rotation. B means I didn't like it, I didn't love it, it's fine. C means I don't really like it that much, but it's not so bad I won't finish it. And F is just a straight up fail. I'm going to have leftovers, a bowl of cereal, or a peanut butter and jam sandwich. And before we get into the recipes, I'd like to say hello to some of you who've said hello to us in the comments down below. Heather from Steinbeck, Manitoba. Cindy from Liverpool, New York. Toby from Durham, North Carolina, home of Duke University. Busy Lizzie from Mono, Ontario. Lydia from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Jen from Georgia. Nicole from upstate New York. Tony from Brisbane, Australia. Chelsea from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Alex from Boston. That's what they wrote, but I think they mean Boston. Jill from the Balearic Islands of Spain. Izzy from Las Vegas. Shell from North Wales. And Stephanie from Wilmington, North Carolina. If you would like a shout out here on the channel, all you have to do is let us know in the comments down below who you are, where you're from, and pick a fun fact about where you live, yourself. Give us something fun to talk about here on the channel. And obviously, if you want to bump up on that shout out list, consider joining us over on the Mighty Network for that perk, along with many others, especially including a like-minded community of individuals who share ideas and thoughts and many other things, all for the price of a crappy cup of coffee a month. And if at some point in this video you are considering buying this book, we have a link in the description down below. Helps us out. All right, to the recipes.
Hello, today on PB with Jay, we're gonna make some gluten-free bread, which I'm pretty excited about because I like trying new gluten-free bread recipes. And this one is not trying to be wheat bread, it's just trying to be its own thing, which is also exciting. Because when something's trying to be wheat bread and then it's really not, it's kind of disappointing. But I don't have like an expectation. It's just gonna be its own thing and we're gonna taste it and see how it tastes for what it is. So that's exciting. So the first thing you need to do is make a flax egg, which is 1 tablespoon of flaxseed soaked in 3 tablespoons of water for about 5 minutes. Boink, boink, boink. Then once that's kind of more gelatinous, you're gonna put it in a larger mixing bowl with the yogurt and the molasses and mix it all together. Then in a separate bowl, you're gonna combine the oats, the seeds, the baking soda, and salt. And then you're gonna add the dry to the wet. Mix it together. Put it into a parchment-lined loaf pan and bake it at 350 degrees for an hour. It's very crumbly, the bread. It's not really sticking together. I think what the problem is though is that I used our rolled oats and it said oat flakes, so I just thought it was like, you know, whole flake rolled oats. But I think maybe in Ireland, where this book was published, is that maybe it's more ground up because their bread looked like the oats were more ground up. So I think I would try this again for sure and just blitz the oats a little bit in the Vitamix or the bullet just to chop them up slightly. And then it might stick together more.
Yeah, it's very crumbly, eh?
Yeah. The end piece is okay.
Maybe you could like...
Okay, I just smushed mine flat. I pushed it down like a pancake. Maybe you could like put it in a frying pan and just kind of, I don't know. I don't think I'll stay together. So yeah, I think the trick is to grind up the oats a little bit. Look how green the pumpkin seeds are though. So green. I like the flavor.
It tastes fine. I think it's hard to call that a bread though.
Well, it's like Irish soda bread.
Right.
It's not supposed to be like bread. I already had a whole thing about that in the beginning. You should watch the footage.
Oh, I watched this video. Are you gonna give it a rating still, or are you still working on that?
I think the taste is really good. I would eat it again. So maybe like a B+ for taste. But it's too crumbly. So I'd like to try this again and see if we can boost it up to an A or an S.
I'm not gonna give this a rating because, well, he's the gluten-free one in the house. Whatever she says goes.
When I say goes, do you hear that, guy?
One of the things that caught my eye in this book was this thing that they call flapjacks. Now, here in Canada, I would think of a flapjack as another name for a pancake. Let me know in the comments down below what flapjack means where you're from. Here, it's essentially describing what I would call a bar. It's like a granola-y type bar with chocolate on top of it. What I like about this is it's using ingredients that I typically wouldn't use, so I wanted to give it a shot. Flapjack must be a very common term in Ireland where the authors of this book are, because they even say to use a flapjack pan, which I took as using like a square pan. We're using an 8x8 one for this. Our bulk store was out of dried mango, unfortunately, so we swapped that out in here with dried apple. I feel like you could swap out any dried fruit or any nuts or seeds inside of this recipe, and you'd probably come up with something similar. The only thing I swapped out intentionally in this recipe is it calls for either melted cocoa butter or coconut oil, and because that's not a whole food plant-based ingredient, what I did is I used the ingredient that I would normally just use for our bars or granola, which is runny tahini. And I just used the same amount that they called for here, and hopefully that will do. And then I'm pressing that all down into a pan, and I'm just using the top of a measuring cup because I find that helps make it nice and flat. I will say I'm a little worried this is not gonna stick together well and this is gonna be really, really crumbly. The photo itself that's in the book makes it look a little crumbly. Once the chocolate's melted, pour it on top, spread it around until you've got a nice layer all around, and then you're gonna put that in the fridge for at least 20 minutes. I'm gonna leave it for at least an hour or two. And then you're gonna cut that into 16 squares. I'm a little worried that this isn't gonna work out the way I hope it would. Mostly with them just sticking together. Let's see. Oh my God. Jesus.
Maybe don't touch this. Maybe just break off a piece whenever you want one.
Get it going. Ooh, that's a clean-ish piece.
Don't mind the dog squeak. So this is basically like granola. Okay, Velma. Anyway, it's loud in here because we got a dog squeaking and the dishwasher's on.
That didn't taste like anything but chocolate.
The chocolate's very thick. I know what you're saying in the comments. I didn't use the oil or cocoa butter. I used tahini instead. I've used tahini as an oil replacement and things like this, and it works just fine. So, maybe you need more tahini. I also think I needed either a wider pan so the chocolate spread out more. What's that face? Is it bad?
Tastes old.
It tastes old?
Like your pumpkin spiced latte.
Oh, it tastes like something someone old would like?
How it tastes old.
The flavors and all this are good. I can't cut this in any way that's gonna make sense. I honestly think what I'm gonna do is melt this down and turn it into balls. This is probably like a crazy, insane idea, but I'm just putting that entire mixture onto the double boiler. And I'm gonna melt it down, I'm gonna try to form it into little, just like energy balls. I think that's the best way to repurpose this, and hopefully that chocolate will kind of act like the way the oil might have, and it'll help it all stick together. And we'll just have like bite-sized balls. As you see, it made my hands a little messy, so one thing I did was I just got a little bowl of cold water just to dampen them, and it just helped to mold them more into balls.
15 minutes later.
So they solidified beautifully. Look at that, solid. That kind of reminds me of something that we had growing up. That is what I thought what a macaroon was, or a macaron. It's not like the fancy French pastry you're used to. It's more like chocolate and coconut mixed together. Let me know in the comments down below if I've said it wrong or if I'm thinking of something else. But this, I don't know, I think this is better than the bar thing that they were gonna have us make because it was just so crumbly. Even the picture of the way they made it look crumbly. So I don't know, maybe just melt the chocolate and turn it into balls. Same recipe. Oh!
Is this dessert?
Yeah. Cheers.
What is it?
It's that thing I made.
Cheers.
It's the thing I made the other day that was all crumbly. That bar?
Oh. That's really yummy. You know what? That was like something we could make at Christmas.
Yeah?
Make it taste decadent.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Wow. I think Annie likes it.
And you liked it that much?
Renegade, renegade.
Is it good, Annie?
I like it.
Yeah?
B+.
Okay. Willie, do you have a new grade? I can't remember.
A.
An A?
Maybe
Oh.
an S. I really like it. It's crispy. It's chocolatey. It's smushy. It's all the things.
I did an A.
What? After that dance? And you can really customize that.
Is this serving 2 or 3?
The serving is 15.
Oh!
The serving is
Amazing.
2.
Well, it originally supposed to make 16 squares, and this made more than 16 balls.
Yeah, these are the biggest ones.
No.
After you took a bite, it's the size of the biggest one and stuffed on the tray.
As for tonight's dinner, I'm gonna make this Chickpea Tikka Masala. We have a buttered tofu and a buttered chickpea recipe we already like. So I'm curious if we like this one just as much, if not more, because it does different things than ours does. So it'll be a newish kind of recipe. It calls for a chili. One of these guys. It's really hot. I've eaten one of these before. It was unpleasant. The recipe says you can make this in 15 minutes. Okay, let's see if that happens. Willie's not home until after 6 o'clock tonight, so I got a lot of buffer to screw this up and take way longer. I was really proud of myself because I'm like, this is a recipe I'm not gonna mess with. I'm gonna do it as is. And then of course I realized as I was gathering all the ingredients, someone, I'm not gonna say who, someone else in this family who I love very much used the last of the coconut milk and didn't put it on the grocery list that we were out. Because we buy it at Costco, so we get it in like a big case. So it's one of those things you don't necessarily remember you're out of until you're out of it. Anywho, I'm gonna try something tonight that I've never done that I'm hoping will work in a pinch. Is what I've done is I've taken a cup of cashews and I'm soaking them in hot water. The recipe calls for 400 milliliters of coconut milk. So I'm gonna let this soak in hot water as long as possible, and I'm gonna blend it all together and just hope it does enough to make a bit of a last minute cream. I'm sorry, Happy Pear guys. I'm sure yours is gonna be amazing and delicious. I just done screwed up, and tonight's the only night I can make this. These are the journeys of the home cook. If you know, you know, and you guys all know because you guys all face these kind of issues in your kitchens. Anyway, apologies in advance to the cookbook authors. I'll let the family know so we can grade this on the curve of their dad's a damn fool. This is really simple though. We're gonna take our coriander and cumin seeds and we're gonna get them nice and sauteing on the pan so that they open up and they smell all good and stuff. And then what we're going to do is make a paste in the, it says to whiz it together. I'm assuming that means blend it. So we're gonna put most of this stuff inside of the blender and turn it into like our saucy paste. Someone also ate the mushrooms that I reserved for this dish. I'll be going to get mushrooms for the recipe I'm making tomorrow night. So there won't be mushrooms in this. I'm as annoyed at me as you all are, who are saying you can't make a recipe when you swap out most of the ingredients. So we're still gonna make a version of this. Take our grades with a grain of salt. We're gonna add in chopped scallions, and then we just keep on cooking that for a few minutes to bring it all together. We're gonna squeeze in the lime juice, taste, and then season it as we need it. It says if it's not spicy enough to add some chili pepper flakes. I think this chili is gonna do a decent amount of that. I made some rice to put this with. The recipe doesn't call for it, but I can't imagine it hurts. I'm sort of tempted to add some peas to this, just to add some extra flavor and a vegetable. This still needs to condense a little bit, but it is boiling down. I just desperately need to give this a try to make sure I haven't destroyed their recipe. Oh, that's delicious. Lightly toasting those seeds at the beginning, you can taste the toastiness in it, and it's really, really nice. Yeah, adding the lime that we're gonna put in here in a couple minutes is going to make it's just gonna bring out the rest of the flavors. This is such a delicious, fast curry recipe. I don't know, I mean, I already have a letter in mind, but let's see how it is all together. The other thing I really, really loved was adding the cilantro stems to the sauce. Like, that's something you would normally just chuck out. So I love when recipes use ingredients like that so that they don't waste them. And because I used way too small of a pot for this dish, I'm able to use one of my favorite kitchen appliances that you don't often see in the videos, is my splatter dome. I did a video last year at some point where I actually went to the people's house who make this splatter dome, and I did some plant-based cooking with them. So if you want to see that video, I will link it in the description down below, but also there's a link in the description down below to get this product, which I like. It's good on the stovetop, but it's even better in the microwave for putting over things so it doesn't make a mess of your microwave. And it comes in multiple different colors and 2 different sizes. This is like the medium size. What did you just say when you came in the door?
I said, sorry, Dad, you only get it once.
She said that, oh my God, it smells amazing in here. It smells like good Indian food, not your Indian food. And it says to serve with some yogurt, which we have some plant-based yogurt. I don't know if I want yogurt on this. And toasted almonds on top. We probably won't do that, but you could. Were you saying it's creamy?
Mm-hmm. It's really good. Flavorful, creamy.
Mm. You couldn't tell that I screwed it up, right?
No, you can't tell you screwed it up.
I like the cashew. I think I like the cashew better than what the coconut would have done. But I'm sure the coconut would have been delicious too. This is really fast and simple. I could see me making this a lot.
Did you feel it?
Especially if I do coconut, because then you can have leftovers.
Leftovers is good.
I'm gonna give this an S. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What do you say? Same?
Yeah.
Don't forget to use your extra lime for lime water.
Good idea.
Even though lemon water is. Hey,
yeah.
go bye. It's good. Doesn't taste like it's from Little India, but
Now that we've tried it, in the future I'd like more vegetables in it.
I added
But
the
there's
peas.
just a few little peas.
It called for
Oh, yeah.
mushrooms, and we didn't have any.
Yeah, but
dog
like
chickpeas.
spinach, cauliflower.
You should do tofu.
Oh.
Mix it up. Mix it up.
More vegetable, right?
No.
Yeah. Well,
Tofu and chickpeas.
maybe this is one of those recipes we'll do a remix of. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see our version of this. I mean, we've already kind of redone it with the cashews and whatnot, but let us know. What do you give this?
A B or a C plus.
Really? That's it?
I don't see any rice here.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
What's this supposed to be like? Like what's it called?
Chicken Tikka Masala is the name of the original recipe.
It's not chicken.
No, it's chickpea.
You can guess the country that it's most popular in it.
I don't know.
Guess.
It's the national dish of a country.
India?
England.
England?
Yeah. Well, they're very big on curries there.
I was really surprised.
I'll give it an A.
Yeah? We thought we'd put more vegetables with it if we made it again.
Yeah. I like it simple.
Yeah. For dinner tonight, we're gonna make this shiitake, ginger, and sesame pad thai.
Annie's gonna be so happy. She loves mushrooms. Annie, don't you love mushrooms so much?
Yeah.
But the shiitake!
No one likes shiitake.
She loves shiitake, she's saying. That's
She's
so great, Annie.
shiitake happy. Oh, I stretched that pun real far.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that didn't even work.
Didn't land. So they call it a stir fry. They call it a dressing, not a sauce. Again, you know, different phrases in different places of the world. There's this coconut milk, lime, tamari, and maple syrup. That's their sauce, pad thai sauce.
Interesting.
It's just not what I would consider a pad thai sauce.
I think pad thai is such a loose
Term?
Like, even the one that we have on your website that's called pad thai, it's not. Lots of people are like, there's tomato in it. It's not pad thai. It's like, yeah, it's kind of just like inspired by
Is pad thai just a term for like a Thai flavored stir fry?
with rice noodles.
There you go. Anyway, this is their version of a pad thai. So like most pad thai, we're going to cook the noodles. We're going to basically cook up all the vegetables into a pan, you know, starting with the stuff like the garlic and the ginger and whatnot, and then adding the bigger vegetables as we go along. And then once all that's cooked up, we're going to add in the sauce and the noodles. It doesn't call for tofu. I think we're going to add tofu to it because it feels weird to not have it.
I'm starving.
Yeah, so I'm gonna air fry the tofu for a little bit and we'll throw that in at the end.
Can I turn the sink on now?
Yes. For garnishing, you can use coriander, cilantro, or basil. I'm gonna use a little bit of both. We have both. Sesame seeds. It's just pickled ginger. We don't have any. They do have a recipe in here. I didn't have time to make it. I know. I'm sorry, Woody. And lime, which we will use because it's delicious. Yes, put the sink back on. I love her. I love her. This is a lot. Willie was in charge of the larger vegetables, and she missed the part where it said, finely chopped the bok choy, which is why we have these giant pieces of it.
I didn't think I would chop it up.
It's a little late, I
Not
think.
late. Much.
Oh my god, it's covered in sauce.
Not even covered in
You
sauce.
can finish that. Anyway, we'll show you what the final thing looks like while Willie recuts the vegetables. Oh, it's everywhere.
Oh, stop complaining.
It's very garlicky, like the pesto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like kind of the hurt garlic, and I know. Well, no.
It's got chilies in it.
Oh, it's spicy,
Yeah.
but it's also garlicky and gingery. It's good, but like I feel like I'm gonna have bad breath after this.
So it's not bland, it's too much flavor? Is that the
No,
issue now?
I'm just saying I'm gonna have bad breath after it.
Okay. But what do you give it other than the bad breath?
I'll give it an A.
Wow. What do we got over here?
It's really good. I would eat this every day. But it wouldn't be good because
coconut milk, but very tasty. Lots of flavor. I think I give it an S.
But what do you give this one? Does this join the F club? Where does this one land?
On A.
Yeah, why?
Minus.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, just an A. Because it's good, but it's not my favorite.
That's one thing I will say, like, I think we cooked things longer than the recipe called for. Like, it only told you to cook the vegetables for 1.5 minutes before you added the sauce. So I think for their recipe, they like the vegetables to be very, like, close to raw. Like, for such a seemingly simple sauce, that's really good. I was actually not that excited about this meal. I didn't think it was going to be that good.
What do you give it?
It's an A for sure. Like, it's not blowing my mind, but I would happily eat this on a regular basis. I don't know, it's really good. I'd put more lime in, maybe. And maybe a little less heat.
Maybe not every day, though.
No. I'd have this, like, in the regular rotation. Like, I'd happily have this at least once a month. So for our dessert tonight, I'm gonna make this double chocolate brownie cake. If you've watched our review videos before, you've seen us make a brownie or two. There's a lot that we've liked and a lot that we haven't liked. This is the brownie cake, which I'm assuming means it's gonna be a little floofier. My big complaint about this recipe is it tells you to prep a brownie tray. That's it. They don't say, is it an 8x8? Is it a 9x9? Is it a 9x13? That makes a big difference in terms of your cooking time based on how thick the batter is inside the pan, how much it's spread out. According to the internet, the average size was closer to 8x8 and 9x9. And the one piece of advice that I liked that I will pass on to you is that err on the side of a 9x9 because a 9x9 will fit all of the batter that's intended for an 8x8. However, an 8x8 might not be able to fit the batter for a recipe intended for a 9x9. So take that as you will. We will be doing some modifications to this to make it gluten-free and whole food plant-based. So this 150 grams of white flour is going to become a gluten-free 1-to-1. It calls for 250 milliliters of maple syrup, which if I'm doing my math correctly, that's 1 cup of maple syrup. That's a lot. I'm gonna cut that down to maybe 2/3 of a cup. For the coconut oil, we're going to whip up some aquafaba instead and use that in place of the coconut oil. It calls for 150 grams, which is like 3/4 of a cup, I think, ish, roughly. We're going to mix all of our dry ingredients into a bowl. We're gonna sift them too, especially because we're using almond flour and we wanna make sure that we don't get any lumps in there. Then we're gonna beat the aquafaba in our mixing bowl, and then we're going to add in our maple syrup, our non-dairy milk, and our vanilla extract. Once that's all nice and mixed up together, we are going to fold that in with the brownie cake batter. It's meant to be a very wet brownie batter, it says. They aren't kidding when they say that's a wet batter. I'm glad they wrote that in the instructions, because if they didn't, I would be terrified to try to bake this. But I think this is gonna result in what's definitely more of a cake than a brownie, because when I think of a brownie, I think of something like really dense and thick. So this will be more like a cake with brownie flavors, also known as a chocolate cake. Right, am I crazy? Is the difference between a brownie and a cake just the texture or the density? Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that very important topic. We're gonna bake that for 25 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, or if you're using the UK method, it's gas mark 3. To be fair to my earlier critique about the brownie pan, it does say that the tin should be about 3 centimeters deep with the brownie mixture. Although I would argue that's something I can't know until I've already poured it in, and once it's in there, it's in there. I'm not taking it out. So after that's baked, we wanna leave it to cool. So to make the chocolate mousse, it says to get out 2 metal or plastic bowls, one smaller than the other. Into the larger one, you're gonna put a handful of ice and about the same volume of water. This doesn't matter because you're not actually using this for ingredients, so don't freak out too much about the amount. You're gonna chop up your dark chocolate into small pieces, put that into the smaller bowl and pour over boiling water. The boiling water, which is 150 milliliters. You're gonna use a whisk, stirring continuously until the chocolate has melted and it's like a hot chocolate. It says then you take the bowl of the melted chocolate and place it inside the bowl of ice and water and keep stirring for 3 to 5 minutes. The ice bath lowers the temperature of the chocolate, allowing the cocoa butter to harden and emulsify with the water, resulting in amazing moussey texture. So first of all, don't whisk this super fast because I think that was our problem, but this takes way longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Unless maybe I didn't use enough ice. But it's at a handful of ice and I put in more than a handful. All right, it's definitely thickening now. This is the part that's confusing to me. This is where you turn it into a cake. So you're gonna take the cooled cake and it says to cut it into 8 similar sized pieces. Place 4 of them on a plate to make the base of the cake. Spread half of the chocolate mousse on top of those. It says at this point if the mousse is too thick, add a little more boiling water to give it a buttery texture. Next it says to spread yogurt on top of the chocolate mousse and evenly distribute half the raspberries on top of that. Then replace the remaining brownies on top of that. And then cover with the rest of the chocolate mousse as well as more raspberries. Hey Annie, what you doing with that extra mousse?
I need those socks for tomorrow.
Sucks to suck. I'm super confused by why they would shoot the photo of this like they did from the top down if it's meant to be a layer cake. Like, I think I did it properly. I don't know, I'm sure it's gonna taste good.
Smell like coffee. I don't really like it. I don't like the flavor of the cake. It tastes like coffee.
Really?
Is there coffee in it?
No, there isn't. So what do you give it?
Our table has come to a conclusion. Now I give it a C. A C.
I like it. The cake is moist. Tastes like chocolate. What could you want? It's so good. I give it an S.
Oh, there's raspberries in the inside?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. I see what Amy means. It tastes like coffee, but it doesn't really. Yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, just like you can taste the gluten-freeness.
Right.
You can feel the texture.
So if you use a regular flour, it'd be even better.
I have like a B. Solid B.
A solid B?
B.
Solid B.
So much better than a B.
A solid B from Ephraim is like most people's A or S. It used to be the sink as the ongoing sound effect in this house, and now it's Velma's rum bottle. Velma, take 5.
You need Velma?
That's so good. The texture of that's fantastic. Yeah, whipping the aquafaba makes a huge difference. And I like how the mousse works as an icing. S. S. Morning. We're at the farm. Actually, I was awkwardly going to just bring Marvin in later, but I'm at the farm with my buddy Marvin.
Hey.
Who you'll see featured in another video that's coming up. I don't know when it's in the schedule.
It'll be the best video he's ever made.
Starring Marvin. For the final recipe in this book, we're going to make the pumpkin spiced latte pancakes, which are literally just putting everything into the blender. And then making, you know how to make pancakes. You pour it in the pan. We're using a non-stick pan, so we don't need to worry about the oil. The only thing I'm gonna add to it, and we won't add it as part of the review, is I've got some apples here. I'm just gonna kind of fry them in a frying pan. Of course it's in a frying pan. With a little bit of cinnamon on top, just for the top of it. But we won't include that as part of the review because that's not part of the recipe. That's that. Maybe put a little maple syrup on top.
I can taste the cinnamon, but what else? What else?
Chai spice. There's cardamom in there.
Cardamom. That's it.
And ginger.
It's nice. No, it's nice. I think the apples, adding a fresh fruit or something like this on top,
Just gives it a little something, right?
yeah.
And the maple syrup.
Well, also adds a texture to it. Of course, maple syrup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say if you're doing it, do the fresh fruit or some kind of fruit with it. But it's nice. Cinnamon and apple. I mean, it's like having a little bit of apple pie for breakfast.
Yeah. All right. Can you give it a ranking on our tier?
Is there anything between the A and the B?
You can give like an A- or a B+.
I'd say A-. A-.
All right.
A-.
Great. It's not the fluffiest pancake. It's fine though. But I would want more pumpkin in it. For it to be a pumpkin pancake,
Good point.
I could use more, but I like the spices. I like the cardamom's nice. It's something I wouldn't normally do. Let me try it with the apple though. The apple helps you quite a bit. Yeah, like it's like a B+, A- area. It's not bad.
No.
But I have another pumpkin pancake recipe that I like better than this.
Oh.
So what are our final thoughts on the Happy Pear recipes for happiness? Here's the thing. It's no shock that these guys have a very successful YouTube channel. They're on their 3rd book. These guys know their way around a recipe. And what I really liked about this book was that they had an overall focus on recipes that just make you happy, like comfort food goodness. Now, because of that, there might be quite a few recipes in here that you already have versions of yourself. Doesn't mean you might not want to try theirs out, but I would just say it might not be the most unique cookbook in that sense. It might not be the most groundbreaking. That said, the recipes, the flavors inside of it are very super solid. Now, they are an Irish duo of brotherly cooks. That's a thing, brotherly cooks. So everything in here is in weight. So if you don't have like a home scale, this book's gonna be hard to cook from for you. Also, as I flagged in the video, there were some things where like the brownie pan, they didn't mention the size of it. That's the kind of thing that if you're not an experienced cook could potentially throw you off. So keep that in mind as well. I would say if you're a big fan of the Happy Pear and you love being in the kitchen and you know your way around it, this book is very likely a buy. If you're new to this way of eating and measuring and whatnot is maybe a little scary for you, consider borrowing it first and previewing it for those purposes. And if you are considering getting a copy of this book, please use our link in the description down below because it helps us out here on the channel. Thank you for joining me and my family for our review of the Happy Pear recipes for happiness. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button to let YouTube know to share this with other people. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Now's the time to do it. And since you're still here, hanging out with me, hang out a little bit longer because YouTube thinks this is the video that you are missing from your life. And maybe they're right. It's the warm hug you didn't know you needed.